This is Smiles TV. Welcome to Smiles Television Talk Show. I'm your host, Stephanie Anthony Miles, and thank you for tuning in again. I'm delighted to bring to you two individuals who are doing great work in the East St. Louis metropolitan area. Mr. and Mrs. Kevin Green. Monique Green actually is a dear friend of mine, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But you know what? You may have different views of East St. Louis, Illinois. Some good, some maybe not so good. But guess what? Things are changing. There is building happening in the city of East St. Louis, something that hasn't occurred in quite a long time. We're talking with Kevin and Monique Green, who are going to share with you what they're doing right behind the Jackie Joyner Center. There's some housing being developed, and you don't want to miss this broadcast. Remember, Jesus Christ was born of a virgin. He was crucified and buried, and he rose on the third day. Confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord. Believe in your heart that God has raised him from the dead, and thou shalt be saved. Stay tuned for more Smiles.
There's a new market-rate subdivision in East St. Louis called Lansdowne Park. The faith-based nonprofit organization Lansdowne Up took a blighted area and constructed 20 homes, which are ready to be occupied. Meet Mr. and Mrs. Kevin and Monique Green. Kevin is the Director of Administration for Lansdowne Up, and Monique Span Green is a board member and also the Executive Pastor of the Living the Word Church, where David Hawkins is lead pastor. Kevin has a bachelor's degree in industrial design and a wealthy military background, which includes serving as a strategic missile launch officer for the United States Air Force. Monique, a native of East St. Louis, has a bachelor's degree in pre-professional studies and economics and a master's degree in business from Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania. Stay tuned as Kevin and Monique share their ministry goals and a view of the Lansdowne Park subdivision, which is located right behind the Jackie Joyner Kersey Center, near major interstate highways, offers easy access to the Metrolink rail system, minutes away from the historical Gateway Arch, and near the newly projected building of the Illinois State Police District 11 headquarters.
Welcome back to Smiles Television Talk Show, and I'm sitting here with Mr. and Mrs. Kevin Green. Monique and Kevin, how are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
They're doing wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking out your busy schedule to come to Smiles Television Talk Show. I really, really appreciate it. Well, let's start off by giving our audience just a little background about yourselves. Let's start with you, Miss Monique.
Well, I grew up in East St. Louis, so I'm homegrown, and we are actually living in my childhood home. So we're back in the city. I call us boots on the ground. I'm actually the executive pastor at Living the Word Church in Collinsville, Illinois, and Living the Word Church had its roots here in East St. Louis.
Yes, ma'am. And you know what? You didn't mention, although you did say you grew up in East St. Louis, we graduated together, and it's so good seeing you.
Absolutely wonderful seeing you, and we did graduate together.
Yes, we did. And we don't have to tell the year, okay?
Right, we're not going to tell the year.
And Kevin, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
It's definitely delighted. Yes, I'm originally a native of New Orleans, and I've lived here now in the greater St. Louis area for over 35 years, living now for the last 12 years in East St. Louis. I had the pleasure of seeing East St. Louis back in the late 70s. Just visited. My best friend in college was a native of East St. Louis, and so I had a chance to come down for a weekend and spend some time in his home. Just fell in love with the city.
And I understand you guys met in college, and tell us about your college days, and where did you go to school?
I'll let you answer that question.
Well, we were both at the University of Notre Dame. And again, it was very, very interesting because even at that time, there were a number of students, all from East Side, who were at the University of Notre Dame. And I don't think anyone was there on on athletic scholarships. Everyone was on academic scholarship.
That's very good that you noted that, because we are very well known for our athletics. However, a lot of people don't know when we were in school, we had the best chess club in the country, and just our academics were really, really going well at that time as well. Our teachers, we had great teachers. Too.
Yes.
Yes, we did. Now, let's talk about the Lansdowne Up organization. It's a
Yes.
nonprofit organization, correct? So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about the Lansdowne Up organization.
Well, we are a nonprofit here in
Hmm.
East St. Louis. We were established on paper just 3 years ago in 2021. But prior to that, we were the East St. Louis Wrestling Club. And I will say that the East St. Louis Wrestling Club is still in existence. We've just divested ourselves from it because we have adults, male adults that work for us. And East St. Louis Wrestling Club has the adult coaches, but then it really is geared towards children, male and female children.
Okay, and Monique, tell us a little bit about how the ministry and the organization merged together.
Well, the mission of Living the Word Church is to help people find healing, restart their fire in the Lord, and serve community. And since many of our attendees are from the East St. Louis area or East St. Louis, we serve community as a church. We get involved with backpack drives, food drives, clothing drives, uh, and whatever we feel we can do for the East St. Louis community, we do that as a church.
Okay, I understand. So let's talk a little bit about the Lansdowne Park subdivision. And what are we to expect to see over there, or what can we see now?
Okay, yeah, just to give you a little bit of a history too. Lansdowne Park was a park here in East St. Louis. It was almost an extension of Jones Park. There were lagoons running through Lansdowne Park. It was very, very nicely manicured and landscaped. And so the site where the Lansdowne Park homes or subdivision is actually built is on the old original Lansdowne Park.
I see, I see. Okay. And that area used to be very heavily weeded, and there are a lot of illicit activities used to occur in that area. So you guys have kind of cleaned that up, huh?
You're absolutely correct. Yes, the area really around the Jackie Joyner Kersey Center, that's really how Lansdowne Up came into view.
Hmm.
With the East St. Louis Wrestling Club, we had wrestlers, young men, young ladies who were from the community, and they had to walk past these areas where there were a few dilapidated houses, there were drug deals going down, there were overgrown lots and wooded lots. And so we started going in as an organization along with our wrestling coaches to try to clear up some of these lots. And we began to hire students during the summer, our wrestlers, so that they would have a connection still with their coaches outside of the wrestling season. And we began the process of cleaning up the neighborhood, basically one lot or one property at a time.
I would like to add something to
Please.
that. The founder of the wrestling club was driven by God to come in and clean up the area and employ the young men in the neighborhood. So he heard Jackie Joyner's desire to give back to the community, and it moved him spiritually to join with Jackie to begin to do even more in the Lansdowne area. So as Kevin said, they began to clean up the lots, employ the young men and then the adult men in the neighborhood. So their vision is really from God. And Kevin, what is the mission of the organization?
The vision is to spark a revival of people loving God, loving each other, and loving their neighborhood.
Wow, I love that. Loving God, loving each other, and loving the neighborhood.
Mhm.
Yes, and then we absolutely need more of that in the East St. Louis community. And hopefully, like you said, this will spark some additional things to occur in our area.
Yes.
But you mentioned the wrestling club and who was on it, and the gentleman's name, if you will.
Mark Mestemacher.
March. Okay, Mr. Mestermarker, and I have trouble saying his name. That's why I wanted you to say it. So he had a vision, in essence, from God
Yes.
to do some things in our area. And Jackie is, how involved do you think she might or might not be in the whole project?
Well, in a sense, we're sister
Okay.
organizations. We are. We're partnering with the same goal in mind, really, to give back to the community, to improve the status of the community. So we do things hand in hand.
I understand. Let's talk about the actual housing units there because there's a lot of conversation in the community. I won't say a lot, but there are some people who tend to think that the building of these new homes is just going to cause gentrification. First of all, let's talk about gentrification, what it is, and how this is not that.
Gentrification historically, we have to go back to almost medieval times, where the aristocracy would come in and they would buy up the peasants' land, and then they'd move the peasants out. And so the gentry, the well-to-do, so to speak, would come in and say and do this, and it was called gentrification. So we look at it historically in the United States, and while it may have occurred through different ethnicities, we look at it in the African American community and we say, oh yeah, it's when you moved us, the majority race moved us from our downtown locations or our best locations, and the housing came in and it was so expensive, property taxes went up. It was just unaffordable, even though we were given the promise of if we move out, we can move back in. So that was gentrification. This is not gentrification in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Usually with gentrification on a large scale, that's when you have hundreds of housing units coming in, and they're all so overpriced that no one can move into the neighborhood. In this case, we've got 20 units. And we even look at the target market for these 20 units. You know, people say, well, how come the average East St. Louisan can't afford these
And that was going
houses?
to be my question, because people are saying, well, who can afford them? We can't move in there. So go ahead and elaborate, if you will.
And I asked the question, well, who's the average East St. Louisan? To me, the average East St. Louisan is the young man who finished high school, who decided to go into trades and become a plumber, who is now making over six figures, and who says, I want to come back into this community. I want to invest in the community. I want to be closer to my family. To me, the average East St. Louisan is the young lady who went away to college and is doing extremely well now. And she says, I want to come back home. She and her husband want to come back home and invest in the community and be closer to her parents and to her grandparents. So the average East St. Louisan, I think we need to change the definition of what that really looks like.
Change the whole narrative.
Change the narrative,
Right.
because what I'm speaking of is what the average East St. Louisan used to be. And the average East St. Louisan now, in the eyes of the greater community, is someone who is below the poverty line. And that's not the narrative of our city. That's what we've become, but it doesn't mean we have to stay there.
So what are you doing to attract those individuals to come back to the homes?
Well, let's be very frank. I think, again, we're talking about 20 homes. And so we're looking for those individuals who say, I really want to invest in a city. They're not for everyone. We didn't build 2,000 homes thinking that 2,000 people would move back. But we built 20 homes. That's what we could afford as a nonprofit to do. And with these 20 homes, in a very real sense, you have to be a crusader that loves this city, that says, I want to make a difference, that I believe that this city could come back to being the city of champions, and not just in word only, but in actuality be a city of champions across the board, not just in athletics.
That's right. Go ahead, Monique.
And I think some other things are being done as well in terms of partnerships and what's happening in the area. With the Illinois State Police relocating to the area, the various programs at the Jackie Joyner Kersey Center, the various partnerships with the University of Illinois and the JJK Foundation to move this area from being what we call a food desert and making fresh food and vegetables available. It's the collection of all of these collaborations that are making the area more attractive.
I would agree with that. And even if you look at where the homes are located, Stephanie, you're just minutes away from the Arch in downtown St. Louis. You're right on Metrolink. You're 3 stops away from Busch Stadium from Metrolink, and you're literally half a mile from Metrolink itself. You are in a location that puts you almost directly on the river from here now. So it saves you the commute time. You are steps away from Jones Park, which is the largest park in the Metro East. So there are some reasons that I think people would want to move back. But again, I think the biggest desire that people have is the fact that they're from East St. Louis and they say, I want to move back into East St. Louis, but I've had a problem trying to find the correct housing stock. I'd rather move farther east or even live in North St. Louis County, but now I have a reason to come back home.
Wow. And this is just one of many things that you guys are working on. I understand you are involved with what's called the Rise Up Youth Program. Elaborate on that, if you will.
That's correct. And, we are just about to start our Rise Up Youth program. It's an extension to some degree of our wrestling club, where normally the wrestlers are the ones who immediately will want to be part of this program. But we hire 30 young men, ages 14 to 17. In the morning, they work. In the afternoon, they're in class. And we pay them. We employ them. We want to teach them work ethic, but we also want to teach them ethics. We want to teach them manners. We want to teach them about finances and financial literacy. We want to teach them about the work environment. So we take them on field trips too, outside of East St. Louis, so that they're exposed to the possibilities. And we do this for an entire summer. We do this every single year. This year we had 68 applicants for 30 positions.
Wow. Wow, that is excellent. So let's talk about the actual housing units. What do we see?
Stephanie, if you were to drive into Lansdowne Park, you're immediately going to notice that the houses are spaced apart, because green space is very important. And this is something that, we partnered with the city on, because as development comes into the city, we really want to take advantage of green space, which is what we seem to be missing in many of the inner city environments. So you'll see that the houses are on lots that are at least a quarter of an acre. It's a cul-de-sac and a circle. We have Lansdowne Park cul-de-sac, Lansdowne Park Drive, and we have Jones Park Circle. We have 20 homes that are scattered within this subdivision itself. The homes are 1,604 square feet up to 1,800 plus square feet. I think it's 1,824 square feet. And you'll see that we have 2 different ranch-style homes. We also have a 2-story unit. Each home has 3 bedrooms and either 2 or 2.5 baths.
Wow, I'm going to have to kind of check that out now. I don't know, the price for me may be out of my range, but however, I do believe that there are going to be some who are interested in this. What kind of responses are you getting in terms of those who might want to move back?
Stephanie, we had an open house this past weekend, and it was amazing to be there and see the people who were coming. They were all people who were from East St. Louis, and they were all people, you could tell really by the cars that people were driving, that they were serious and they had the means to be able to buy these homes. And there were several people that showed up on that day that said, I just had to come in and see it. And now that I've seen it, yes, we need to move forward and see about qualifying for one of these homes.
Do you have any plans for additional housing?
We do.
Okay.
A little bit further down the road. And our next development will be 16 homes, and they'll be priced under $200,000. We call it the Nectar Avenue development, a historical avenue here in East St. Louis, but it's still within the greater Lansdowne community, which is where Lansdowne Up really finds its footprint. And these homes, again, will be under $200,000. They will be 2-bedroom, 1 bath. They'll come fully furnished. They'll have all the appliances in it. It really is a situation where, as a young person or as a retiree, because we know it's not for a growing family since it's only 2 bedrooms, but as a young person or a retiree, it is absolutely perfect. You literally just bring your clothing and you move in.
It's fully furnished.
Fully furnished?
Yeah.
Okay, tell you what, we need to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll wrap up and continue talking about this great project. Don't go away. We'll be right back with more Smiles.
The Smiles Television Talk Show wants to showcase your business, organization, church, and activities. If you have an interest in being a guest on Smiles Television Talk Show, or if you have any show ideas, contact Stephanie Anthony Miles at smilestv777@gmail.com. You may also call 618-741-3770. Tell your friends to subscribe to the Smiles YouTube channel. Let Smiles TV increase your reach. Remember, you look better with smiles.
Welcome back to Smiles Television Talk Show. And Monique and Kevin Green, this is an exciting project. This uplifts our city. And I'm just so grateful that you took time to come and share with us. In closing, because we don't have a lot of time, but in closing, give us some lasting words or something that you want to make sure that our viewing audience takes home with them.
As a native of East St. Louis, I'm speaking to all of the native East St. Louisans and those that are interested in what's going on in Lansdowne Park. Get excited Come and take a look at Lansdowne Park. And just remember, to start a revival, it requires the first step. The first step has been taken. So join us in the revival of a great city.
And I want you to, one more time, tell us about your mission.
The mission of Lansdowne is to transform Lansdowne, East St. Louis into a thriving neighborhood, one person, one property at a time.
Wow. And the leader, the gentleman who has invested such, evidently has great faith as well.
Mark Mestemacher has great faith.
I'm glad you said his name. And Kevin, is there anything else that you would like to share?
I'd just like to ask all the viewers, please, please, for more information, feel free to go to our website at www.lansdownup.org.
Thank you again for coming to Smiles Television Talk Show. And I have a good friend who tells me I must be Jesse Jackson's little sister because I keep hope alive. And I just believe that God is able, and I thank God for you. We also thank God for you. Thank you for tuning in. And go visit the Lansdowne Subdivision, the Lansdowne Park Subdivision. I think you'll be pretty thrilled at what you see. Remember, only what you do for Christ will last. And Jesus is the Lord. The Lord be magnified. Keep smiling. You look better when you smile.
IDEX Media does a lot. From IDEX Photography to IDEX Films. We help create forever memories and forever impressions. Image a nation, image a world. IDEX Media.
Awesome sauce. Yeah, baby.